Welcome to Conversations with a Wounded Healer. I'm your host, Sarah Bueno. I'm a psychotherapist, teacher, consultant, and most importantly, a wounded healer, living and working in Skokie, Illinois, just outside of Chicago. This is a space for thought-provoking, unscripted conversations with people from all walks of life, united by the shared mission of healing ourselves while promoting healing in the world around us. Whether you're here to find inspiration, learn, or simply feel seen, you're invited on this journey of healing from the individual to the collective. Thanks for joining me. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the video episode of Conversations with a Wounded Healer. I'm your host, Sarah Bueno, and this is such a super duper special episode. Never done anything like it before. Totally want to do more things like this now. So buckle up. We're going to have a lot of fun together. Actually, I had a lot of fun just being a witness, but you're going to have, fun is not probably the right word. It's probably like depth of experience. So, but you're going to dig it. Trust me. So before we get there though, couple of announcements. Mishara, who is one of the guests and hosts of the podcast today, Mishara and I created a webinar called Care in Chaos, and it was essentially for therapists who are trying to navigate the cuckoo bananas times that we find ourselves in. And I know a lot of people are feeling really stuck. They're feeling really scared. And so we wanted to create a webinar that felt really nourishing and generative and could combat a lot of the fear that we've been experiencing. And by golly, I think we did it. So you can witness and then let us know. Did you feel buoyed? Did you feel supported? Did you build your metaphorical houseboat and feel any better weathering the storm? You can go to tinyurl.com/care-in-chaos-rec. We will put the info in the, what do you call that? The notes below, the description. I don't know. I don't do YouTube. I'm Gen X. I cling to the tail of Gen X with all of my fingernails. Anyway, tinyurl.com/care-in-chaos-rec. You can purchase the webinar. You can get 3.5 CEs if you fill out the survey, and we'll be so grateful that you joined us. And if you are a therapist and you want to up-level your supervision game, one of my other dear friends, Sarah Suzuki, and I are going to be hosting an online version of our supervision training called Bridging Heart and Practice. You can go to tinyurl.com/thesarahsonlinesoup. That's THESARAHSONLINESUPE. Again, we'll put that in the description below. And join us on September 6th for 6 hours of honestly like pretty deep supervision stuff that we think is pretty kick-ass. So hope you'll join us there. So, okay, now I'll get into the details of today's episode. So Mishara, who's been on the podcast before, and her BFF, Christina Michelle, who's also been on the podcast before. Mishara and I were chatting one day, and she was like, Christina Michelle and I would really like a place to have conversations about our relationship because we think what we're doing is pretty special. And I said, I don't know what you're doing, but I'm going to just know that it's very special because you are very special. And so is Christina Michelle. And what ended up happening was I just got to be witness to a really touching, very intimate conversation about how to be in relationship, how to teach somebody how to love you, how to learn better, how to love yourself, and stay connected to people who might move through the world a little bit differently. So this is totally different than any episode I've ever had before. I really want to do something like this again, maybe with some other friends. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But let me introduce you to our beautiful friends. Christina Michelle is a Black and queer writer, performer, and licensed clinical social worker. Stories and relationships, listening to them, creating them, reconstructing them, shaping them, connecting them, are the constant threads in her work. Current explorations include relearning how to swim, learning ASL, and respecting her body's limits, needs, and desires. And then Mishara D. Winston, LCSW, is a wellness strategist, experienced designer, somatic coach, and 11-year licensed therapist. Her work examines patterns of sustainable communal and personal care. She inspires visionary people to listen to their cravings and strategically design their personal and professional experiences in creative, pleasurable, and nervous system affirming ways. So please enjoy this deep, meaningful, rich conversation between Christina Michelle and Mishara D. Winston.
Mishara, hello, hello. We have gathered here today to talk about our relationship with the peoples who are listening. And I was thinking this morning about why do we think it's worth sharing about our relationship? And I thought we could maybe just talk about that at first. And I can lead off. I think about a lot of what I've been thinking about these last 5 years is kind of, what is it to survive the end of one world and create another one? And I think a huge part of that for me is connection and community. And when I think about our relationship, I think about our connection, and that community can be between two people. And the ways we have worked on like figuring out how to intentionally love each other well, despite having some very large differences in things that can happen for us, particularly around being activated and intimacy. And the other thing I thought was great is that we're talking about a friendship. I feel like often these conversations happen in the context of romantic relationships, maybe like broader kind of vague ideas of community sometimes maybe work, but I think not so much like with the platonic, deep, intimate relationship. So that's why I wanted to share with the peoples in case anyone, might be able to find anything useful to carry with them. What about you?
So I'm smiling because you have on your professional voice, and the fact that you just put it on like made me giggle. So that's the first thing that I think. The second thing that I think is, as you were speaking, I immediately was like, oh, I can tell I'm going to cry during this. Like,
I mean, yes.
We haven't started. And I'm like, oh my God, I love her so much. Oh my God. And I love what you are saying as well about what is it to build vulnerability and to do so with boundaries. So I always am talking about what boundaries mean to me as like kept pleasurable action-based promises to self. And when I think about our relationship, I think about a place that has space for that and for like deep vulnerability. So yeah, we are always crying, but I think that I think the love is also a lesson in like, you can have the things you need. You can have promises to yourself and do that alongside someone who makes promises to themselves, and that is never seen as a betrayal. And so I just think that that's so powerful. And I'm going to cry about it because who's going to stop me? But also, I think it brings us into when we were trying to think of like, what would we name this episode, or what is this about? And we said how to love people different from yourself in a sustainable way. People who feel very different from yourself in a sustainable way. And that's that self in communal care. I think it's so dope that we get to choose our friends. There's all these rules about what is real family, what makes romance real or valid. And everyone has these opinions that are placed on your relationship or on how parents should parent, how partners should partner. There aren't these rigid rules around how friends can love each other. And I think that means that it gets to be open. It's this two-person example of what community can be that makes it accessible. If you can do it with one other person, then you can have community. As a creative, it makes me so happy how big and open the possibility is. And then we build the structure that works for us. And I just think that I think it's beautiful, and I'm going to cry. So, yeah.
It is beautiful. And I like thinking about what you said, like this kind of space to get to explore and figure out what works. And I think like practicing, I know you've had a huge impact on my life on how I think about boundaries and the ways that our relationship has been sustainable in the way it has because of the work I've seen you do on boundaries. And I've been like, oh, maybe I could do that. And then getting to practice it and have a somatic experience of it going well. Like there's a moment of our friendship I will never forget. I don't know what year it was. We met in 2010, so it's been a decade and a half.
We old as hell.
Longest relationship, right? We're very getting there. Which I love, all that wisdom. But I remember being very anxious. It is giving a little ancient. I was really anxious to tell you something you had done that hurt my feelings or something. I was like so anxious to tell you because my experience had not always been, we lost it, but I'll keep talking. My experience had not always been that goes well. Or that it's allowed, just my body was not having it. And I remember like talking to you and I started crying because I was so anxious about it. And your response to me was, thank you for teaching me how to love you better. And it was just such a pivotal moment for me to realize what can be possible. It raised the bar for me on what I expect in my relationships and also how I want to show up in my relationships. In a way that makes it so I've been able to sustain the level of intimacy and vulnerability and connection we have, because in other relationships where I may have been doing more of a caregiver thing and like doing a lot of giving and not receiving, which allowed me to kind of hide, it just wasn't sustainable. At some point it would burn out. And so I'm so thankful to have gotten to continue to get to have and cultivate such a different experience that allows me, I mean, honestly, to like be a better therapist, to be a better friend, to be a better daughter, be a better partner, just be a better human in the world. So I don't know where I was going with that, but that's what I got.
I think I had disappeared for a moment. Am I back? Can you see me?
You're back.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love that. And I think that when you tell me what your needs are, it actually, for me as a person, and I know we're going to talk about like how we lean different with our orientations, but it for me means this person is like giving me a chance to love them. Oh my God, I'm already crying and we just began. I think it is an honor to get to love people. I think it's an honor to get to have friends and partners and loved ones and to get to make family. I think it is like I feel so wealthy and I have all of my life when it comes to relationships. I've always felt like, wow, I really hit the jackpot. And I think our friendship is another way that I'm just like, honey, I'm out here. I mean, I'm swimming in gold. What can I say? And I'm really grateful for that. And I think that you have taught me, you're saying that like I taught you about boundaries. You've taught me that connection can be safe. Like you said, it's been like 15 years or so. And I think I was leaving you a voice note when I was driving to get these headphones. And I was just saying like, I don't have any fears that I ask for too much in relationship. I don't have any fears that I ask from too much from, my partners, etc., because a standard has been set, honey. Like, I know what it is to be loved. I know what it is to love well. So I don't have to use other relationships as a chance to build my worthiness or be worthy, because in our relationship, there's a standard set that we do our own work, but we do it alongside each other. So I know it's actually my job. What'd you say?
I said, say it again. That part, you don't even know what you said, do you?
No, I don't know what the heck I said. But like
about doing our work alongside each other.
Yes, feel free to record if you're listening. Rewind if you're listening. But it's like what it is to do one's own work alongside another person. You're not doing it with them and you're not doing it for them, because we have two very different sets of work to do. Mine is around fear of connection. Yours is around fear of space and distance. And so like, yeah, let's talk about that. But also being in relationship with you lets me know that balance is not only possible, but it's very accessible. It can be built very intentionally. It's never asking too much. And I help you with boundaries and you help me with connection so that I won't be like, why is this person all up on me like this? Like, you're able to be like, I think it's because they love you. Oh my God, I'm gonna need to, I gotta go talk to my therapist. I gotta, I gotta call my bestie.
Yeah.
Why does so-and-so love me so much and why won't they stop showing it? What's going on? But also, our work is different. And so we help each other and say, okay, I think you got this. I think you can do this. I'm rooting for you, but we don't do it for the other person. We don't view over giving as love. And we don't view being a great distance as like boundaries. We don't view walls as boundaries. And we don't view being enmeshed and suffocating each other as proving that we love each other. And so, like I said, it's a standard, honey. It's one I've come to expect in my relationships, thanks to you.
Yeah. That I'm really, I think, struck by what you said about the gift of loving. Like, what a real honor and privilege it is to have someone allow you to get to know them enough to really love them. And it makes me think about the ways I feel really safe in our relationship, that all the parts of me get to be welcome. And it has been really healing to have that idea that what I'm asking for is not too much. First of all, I think it's huge. And second of all, that sacrifice or giving of myself in ways that actually harm me is actually not love. Because I think that is a narrative, because of my experience and how, as a kid, I understood how Christianity was explained to me, was all about sacrifice, was all about giving till you don't have it, striving for perfection though you'll never reach it. And that, I think, really informed how I thought about what it means to love and to show love and to make sure I'm useful and to make sure that I should be giving more than I want to give, because anything I want to withhold for myself is actually being selfish, is actually a sign that I'm doing it wrong. And so I need to give even more. And the ways, again, like, that's just not sustainable. Even though before our relationship, I also have always considered myself wealthy in my friendships. There's a different way. I think also just the timing of when we met, of getting to show up and practice that has been just had such ripple effects, including in how I love myself.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Keep going.
You said something earlier about our different orientations, and I think we should maybe jump back to that. Yeah, do you want to say more on that?
Yeah, I think this goes directly into our conversation about what are our orientations, and I call them like fear orientations, fear response. How do we tend to find ourselves leaning when we're afraid? I think it's funny that you just said within your like faith culture experiences as a younger person, martyrdom was normalized. And I think what's interesting is that I got a message about martyrdom too, even though I leaned completely differently with what I did. Like, I didn't lean more like, I want to give, I want to please you. I leaned the other way. Like, oh, for real? Baby, I'll be, I don't need nobody. I'll be down the street, like, learning how to cook and feed myself or something ridiculous at a young age. But I think that a similarity, like from you, I learned that connection will not suffocate me, erase me, drown me, consume me, and that I don't have to be afraid that that is going to happen just because I connect to a person. Their emotional needs do not have to trump my personhood, so much though, so that I have to hide my personhood and get far away from them to protect me. It's safe for other people to have needs and that they will be able to manage them and not put them into my lap, so I don't have to run and take my lap away. And so I think that there's just this thing about, like, I did not want to sacrifice myself. And so I went toward counterdependence instead of codependence as a young child. because I could recognize the environment that I'm in. Like we talk about, this episode is about self and communal care. So we know that like leaning too hard into the self and ignoring community, you end up with like this individualistic, very selfish mindset. But if you lean too far in community, which was my experience growing up, you're in a cult. And that's what I grew up in. I grew up in a cult where you weren't allowed to have individual needs. So when we say self in communal care, our relationship has let me experience that space where the in is. If self in that sentence is to the left, and there's in, and then communal is to the right in that phrase, our relationship shows me what it is to be in the in. So I don't have to lean including when I'm very afraid of connection, I don't have to completely disappear and run away to say, I actually need space. And it's not because anything is wrong in the relationship. I am overwhelmed with emotion and it scares me. Connection scares me. So I need to go off and regulate myself, not because I'm abandoning you, but because me going off and caring for myself is how I commit to this relationship. I'm committed to coming back. So that's why I step away. If I was to go in the direction of staying right here, right now, or getting closer to you, I would be abandoning myself. I would be betraying myself. And we are in the normalization in this relationship where neither person has to betray themselves to love another. And I just think that's huge.
It's really huge. And it makes me think about, you're talking about kind of fear orientations, not just how we respond when we are afraid, but also the things that make us afraid. So for me, a big thing that can activate me feeling very afraid is this sense of abandonment, of withdrawal, of space and distance, because to me that means I did something wrong. And it's been so interesting to realize like it's not all about me. Like you needing space is because you need space. It doesn't mean I did something wrong, that there's more for me to do. That's all it means. And just in the same way, I think me needing connection is not wrong. And I think that's something else that I really appreciate is like, neither of us are broken.
Exactly. We have different needs and it's not because we're broken. And so for me, when we talk about orientations, I lean toward counterdependence, not codependence. And I lead toward, when we're talking about attachment styles for people who, enjoy learning about attachment, I lean avoidant. And I don't actually remember if it's fearful avoidant or disorganized avoidant. I know that people like crap on both of them. So whenever they're like, here are the worst people to be in relationships with, I'm like, dang, I put forth so much effort into loving people well, and they are dragging me across the internet.
Yeah.
But I think that those responses, I think it came down to like connection when you're thinking about a cult and you're also thinking about the household I grew up in. Connection meant being absolutely consumed and submerged and drowned in other people's needs. So to me, what shows up when I'm trying to connect with someone, if I don't baby step it and go regulate myself, I think I'm going to die. So it's not this person did something wrong. It might be it's going really well. Oh my God, I see like their heart opening. I feel my heart opening. We're connecting. Oh my God, I'm going to drown. My lungs are going to fill with water. I'm going to die. That's what it feels like to be in counterdependence. That's what it feels like to be avoidant. It's terrifying. So when people talk about, the terror of being abandoned, honey, baby, I can't relate. I'd be like, sounds like a lot more space. Cool. I can initiate that for you. But when people talk about that distance, they describe a terror. And a fear, and even though I can't relate to, I become afraid and I want to come closer, I can relate to, I know what it is to be deeply afraid. And I don't think these things are always just based in trauma. I also think there's like, I think me and you have talked about this before. Like if we're in ancient times, I think one of my roles in a tribe would be every so and so days, this person goes on a solo journey and climbs some mountain and then sits on it and reflects and meditates and looks to the east, west, north, and south and has these deep visions or whatever the heck. And then comes back and says, I saw this in the horizon and I've noticed these patterns with how the food is growing over here and the water has changed in some way over here. And maybe we should be aware of this. I'm supposed to come back and give something that benefits our communal relationships. I'm supposed to go off on my own and reflect. I need alone time. And it just so happens that in our culture, the person that needs alone time is glorified in a absolutely hyper unhealthy, hyper independent way. They're glorified as being more mature, more stoic, more, I don't know, emotionally regulated. And they're also demonized as being cold-hearted, like an ice queen or someone who doesn't care about people. And the person who, like, their role in said tribe or society in ancient times and current times is supposed to be connecting with people. They are glorified like they really know what love is, even if they're being completely unhealthy and codependent. It's like, this is real love. If you don't do it like this, you don't have anything. But also, if they are like over giving or they become afraid, then it's like, oh my God, they're so clingy. Oh my
So
God,
needy.
they're so toxic. Both people are called toxic. And I don't think that's toxicity. I don't also think that it's always about trauma. I think we have different gifts, different needs. And I think that when I'm not scared, I'm not in a fear response, I still be needing my space because I need to be myself. And you be needing connection, and I do too. So we also connect in ways that work for us both. And you have other connection needs. Like we've talked about how some of your friendships and relationships, I'm like, good God, whew, that is a lot of like emotional, like you just give so much. And I think it's really special. And I think it's really a gift. And I don't think you need to love differently just because I love, like, I'm going to stand back here and observe. And with that distance, I've got like my notebook and my pen, and I'm writing for anyone I love. I have a list. This is what they like. This is what they don't like. This is what makes them happy. I'm studying from a distance so that I can love the person exactly the way they have asked to be loved and they want to be loved. And I don't think that one of those is healthy and one of those is unhealthy. I think we are playing to our strengths. And I think that's like what communities are supposed to do. I think it's being honest about people's gifts and strengths and celebrating them in that instead of asking them to be someone else. That doesn't mean we're accepting toxic behavior.
No.
But I'm saying, like,
To be clear.
To be clear, I ain't got no tolerance for it. But to appreciate where people are coming from instead of saying you're like that because you're damaged.
Yeah. I think I really love that, making that point that the way we are isn't necessarily because of trauma or being broken. I think there are kind of, like you said, ways we lean, the gifts we came here to give and to receive, the work we came here to do. And the ways I do think like environment, trauma, all the kind of things that can then throw them into a different kind of balance. And one of the things I've really appreciated about our relationship and then how I show up in different relationships is me realizing, oh, I need a lot more space than I ever allowed myself. And that's been, especially these past few years, such a great gift to have. And then when I'm connecting, it is because I want to be, not because I feel I should be, or because it feels so unfamiliar to be not connecting that I get panicky and then I'm reaching out. That I get to be with people in a way that isn't secretly trying to get something else, be it regulating my nervous system by trying to regulate theirs and meet their needs, feeling like, I'm good enough if I'm useful. That's just something I'm really thankful for, like the gift of learning. For me, that space does not mean danger.
Right.
That it does not, like, one of the ways I internalize the concept of hell, there's like the fiery burning pit, but then there also is this, I think of it like being thrown into a black hole where you're completely cut off from everyone and anything. And just like the loneliness, the need, the terror I feel thinking about that, right? And so that was something, it sounds so simple to be like, you helped me realize there are different perspectives than my own. But I mean it in a real way of understanding, oh, you're feeling terror. It looks different than mine. And there are ways that, like you said, for example, it might be glorified or demonized in different ways. But the thing we have in common is the way it can be terrifying to navigate connection and disconnection. And the sense even of like, oh, it means we're disconnected if you take space. Or if I need space, what does that mean? And so I appreciate the ways we have built our relationship to have enough space for us both. I think it's something really special. And I guess something I'm thinking about is like, how did we do that? How have we done that?
Intentionality. I think
Mm.
so. I want to say that you have taught me that it's safe to be vulnerable and connected, and that I need more connection than I thought I needed, because I think that part of the experiences that can lead to counterdependence is like, I just won't need people. And if I won't need people, then I can stay safe. I can stay away from people because, I like me. I can be with me. And being with you has helped me in friendship, has helped me, like, it's just helped me understand I need connection, and that that's okay. And that I can ask questions about how to do it if I'm like, what's going on here? When you said, how did we do this? I think it was intentionality, because we have been long distance since forever. Haven't we been long? If it's been 15 years, have we been long
Way
distance
longer.
for like 13 or something? Like,
Yeah.
I don't do the adding or the subtracting. I'm not sure how long we've
Yeah.
been friends.
Not
It's
that
been a
long.
long time. And we've been on basically different coasts, dang near, the whole time. So it's not like this friendship is like convenient, or
Yeah.
I don't connect with you because you happen to be around. I choose you. And I feel honored to be in intentional, loving friendship. It's not, it reminds me of that phrase, like, you could have been anywhere in the world. Like, I could have been doing anything else. And here I am,
Here we
in
are.
love with my dear friends, loving my loved ones across. I have multiple close loved ones who do not live near me. And
Same.
I love that intentionality. I love that choice to build family with people and to show up and to do it in sustainable ways. What would you say? Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was thinking about what you just said. And then one thing you said that I don't think I had really thought about before, articulated, you were saying that I kind of thought like you just won't have needs. Like that will be the way to like stay safe. Like I'm just not going to need connection kind of idea. Is that what you're saying?
No, I have needs, but I'm going to meet them. I'm not going
Yeah,
to go
yeah.
to other people about them.
Yeah. I'm saying like before, maybe like not as in a balanced state. That was kind of like, I
Mm.
don't really need connection. So it's fine that I don't have it, and realizing what it is to realize then, like me realizing I need space, you realizing you need connections. And what's interesting is I was thinking about a large part of my narrative for a long period of time was that I don't have needs. Other people's needs are what I attune to and orient to. That is what is important. And I think it's been so interesting. This still comes up for us, I think, where you're like, well, what do you want, Chris? And I'm like, I honestly don't, I need some time. I don't, that's just literally when thinking about, I'm going to say yes. This is a couple of years ago when I was working at some jobs that were hard in different ways, and thinking about, you're like, before you say yes, so what do you consider? Like, what do you, and I was like, my needs are not in the top 10 things I think about. I'm like, does it need to happen? Is there, who's going to do it? It just was such a concept that just had never occurred to me. And then you're talking about, that's the first thing I think. Do I want to do it? And
Very much. Is it bringing me pleasure? Does it sound fun? Because for me, if it's pleasurable, if it's fun, and if I get a yes from my body, I'm always checking in with my body. I'm always listening to my body. People talk about like embodied lives and listening to and trusting your body. That's my natural state. So I think that it's the first thing that I'm interested in knowing. Do I want to, and how do I feel? And what do I desire? What do I crave? Because I know I can't sustain things that I don't crave, desire, etc. I think some people have a sense of, I don't have to check in with myself. And feel free to correct me. This is me speaking hypothetically because this isn't my experience. But like, I don't have to check in with myself because I can do it for the greater good.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it for the greater good. I'm going, because I count as the greater good too. Like,
Yeah.
I recognize that I matter. And so I'm checking in with myself because I want to know, not just can I do this thing, but can I sustain it? Like, sustainability matters to me. I know I have a certain amount of resources emotionally, spiritually, physically. I want to know, can I do it and can I keep showing up? If I lie to you and say I'm going to do something that I don't want to do, can't sustain, then what happens to me? I become bitter. Is that supposed to be your fault? No, that's my lack of boundaries. What happens? I become resentful. That's on me. You can't make me resentful. Why did I agree to something I didn't want to do? So I think it's also like based in harm accountability. I know that I have been harmed, and I know as a human that I am a harmer. I am a healer. I am often hurting, and I am a helper. If I say yes to you when I don't want to and I don't check in with myself, I'm not going to show up. It's going to harm you. I'm going to become resentful, and then I'm going to be ready to blame you for my resentment or my passive aggressiveness. I'm going to end up harming situations I don't want to be a part of, and I'm going to end up harming me. And whose responsibility is that? Honey, it's mine. So I think that's like what comes up for me. It's not sustainable to do things I don't want to do.
Yeah. And, I think for so long, for lots of various reasons, but some of my orientations were about, it doesn't matter, again, what I need, my body, mind over matter, that whole idea, which is woefully wrong. And this idea of the greater good. Yeah. That I remember 2020, you were saying, Chris, if you think Black Lives Matter, they need to treat yours like it does, when I was like doing too much. And it just struck me of never really thinking of myself as part of the greater good. And the ways, like realizing too, which I think particularly those who are in the helping profession need to be aware of, the ways it also then served me, right? It let me keep an identity of myself as so good, as like worthy of love or forgiveness or whatever, if I was always helping other people, including when like ain't nobody asked to be helped. It's not even, but like how I was then using people to get something for myself that wasn't consensual. It had not been agreed upon. We hadn't agreed to it. And that was a big wake up call for me, and something I think about a lot. Like, what is what is my self-identity that I'm working so hard to protect? And I think that's where we can see people kind of clash. Like, I'm not a person who harms. Yes, I am. I'm a human. I harm, I help, I can help heal. And also I harm, and I've done some great harm that's really hard to sit with. And I think it's also been another thing that's been so great to explore in our relationship of what it's like to let someone know they've caused harm. And again, the kind of harm we're talking about versus like toxic, like, you know, and what is it to really sit with the discomfort that comes without necessarily getting defensive or being able to say, I'm so thankful that you told me this. I need some time so I can actually show up and hear what you're saying. And that is a gift. Someone saying to you, this hurt me, saying, I need this, saying this isn't working for me anymore. What an act of respect, because it's hard. Why would you do
It
that
means
if you
they
didn't
want to
actually
invest
care?
in the relationship. It
Yeah.
means they want it to be sustainable. I think that's respected, but it's still like, I think that's very important. But when it happens in the moment, it is hard because I'm wanting to go to like consult my notes. Now, how did I step away from, I had written down, this is how this person needs to be loved. This didn't come up in my note. Because I think when connection comes easy because it feels safe and there hasn't been like terror about connection, it might be a little bit perhaps easier. I don't to connect with people, but for me, I'm like, no, I worked at this. I really worked hard at this. And I have messed up. Oh, but they've told me I've messed up, which means they're giving me more notes, which means they're interested in the sustainability of the relationship. So how can I take care of myself, and also let them take care of themselves? So we can talk about, okay, where do we go from here in a way that honors both of our boundaries and both of our vulnerabilities and the backgrounds we come from, and also where we're trying to go, not just in our relationship, but as people. Like when we talk about, I think I don't know if it was last week, but I was saying like, I don't want to be in a relationship with somebody that's not in a relationship with themselves, because I'm not going to be in community with someone who's not in community with their own body, with their own self. But what that looks like within their work doesn't need to look like what it looks like for me. So like, yeah, I've got these notes about how to love my specific loved ones. I've got books about how to love me. I've got journal after journal since I was like 10. This is what I like. This is how I feel. So I think that like, I think we ignore sometimes doing that inner work and taking the time to write those books about what we need and what we want, and instead try to help other people as a way of actually avoiding the vulnerability of being in relationship with self. And then we wonder why vulnerability is so difficult. Boundaries are so difficult with other people. If boundary is, in my definition, a kept, pleasurable, action-based promise to self, how am I supposed to have boundaries with other people? I can't even make and keep a promise to myself. That's my inner work. That's my, like, I get to check in. Well, what promises would I like to make stuff? What would I enjoy? What would be pleasurable? But I think that people avoid vulnerability. They avoid self-intimacy, and they instead try to help others.
Yeah.
Whether they go into a helping profession or whether they turn other people and other situations into projects and causes. And I'm like, I see how you're avoiding that mirror. I see how the mirror is here, and you could look at it and find yourself worthy to look in it and do that like really loving work with yourself. Or you can keep putting it to the side and say, well, they need me to volunteer. Oh, my loved one is going through this. Oh, also my dog. And I'm like, it's not sustainable, and it's not good for the larger community. If I think what is necessary for communal self and communal care is I have a relationship with me. You have a relationship with you. We're both consistently working on them in healthy, loving, actionable, pleasurable, sustainable ways. And our relationship together is the third relationship in this relationship. I can't have
Yeah.
a third if you don't have yours and I don't have mine. It
Yeah.
won't work. And I can't have your relationship for you. So that's what I mean when I'm saying it's like we're doing work alongside each other, like hand in hand, but I can't do your work with you because I don't have the same needs. And I can't do your work for you because that's just inappropriate.
And not
And so,
possible, really.
and impossible. So it's a setup to fail, I think, when we're like, I need someone who's just like me to be in community with me, to be in friendship with me. Or I need someone who is the exact opposite. And then I try to meet all their needs that they didn't ask for, or something else happens, but it's like I avoid my work, they avoid their work. And then the relationship looks like a plant that's not being watered. The third relationship, because I didn't manage my relationship with myself, which should have been first. You weren't doing your thing, which is the second. So the third it's not
Right.
possible to give it what it
Right.
needs.
And it's really making me think about, and I don't use the word safety lightly, like, but the sense of safety I have in our relationship, around the ways we both do our own work and the different ways that can look. But the ways like I can then trust when you say that you'll say no if you need to, which for so long, because that was not something I did, I was constantly reading between the lines. Well, this person did okay, but then they put a period at the text. So is it really no worries? It seems like no worries means there are worries. Where with you, I don't ever have to worry that you're secretly mad at me because you will just tell me. And it has freed up so much mind space and made me think, what if I show up in my relationships like that? What if I don't assume that they're mad at me because they are, assume whatever? What if I let them take that responsibility to let me know if I've done something, and me take the responsibility to do the work that makes it so I am a safe enough place where someone can bring that to me? Because I also don't want to pretend like that's not a real thing, where people do not make it safe enough to do that. And the ways like we can cause real harm, I think, particularly again for those who are in helping professions, whatever that may be, the real harm. Like, so if your value is to support community, to help others, think about the real harm that you have the potential to do when you are not doing your work. And maybe that work is going to therapy once a week. Maybe it's going to the gym. Maybe it's taking naps. Maybe it's doing less. Whatever that needs to be for you. I think if you're subscribing to like, I have the ethic of do no harm, then really mean that shit. And figure out what you need to do and do it. Or at least be honest that I don't feel like I have capacity to do it, or I'm choosing not to. At least have some awareness. Because it is so dangerous. Like, I think about the ways, I think our different needs and healing journeys align in a way where it could have been so re-traumatizing or so reactivating or so kind of re-ingraining some messages. And the ways, because we're both trying to shift some things and the timing align, all the things that have aligned and our choices within that I got to be a healing experience in some really deep kind of, I know nobody else can heal my trauma or heal my childhood wounds, but got to have such a different, again, somatic experience of what is possible. And if we both hadn't been committed to doing our work in the different ways that's looked over the years, just how much harm we could have caused each other.
Absolutely. And I think that we could have caused harm and both like kind of shirked from responsibility and been like, oh, well, you know, this person needed too much. They were too, you know, always trying to hang out with me, or that person didn't care. She was always going off on her own. She didn't want to be a real friend. She wasn't a loyal friend. I think that when we don't do our own work, we also talk about other people's projects they need to do on themselves and how they need to get their life together. And I think it's very like, it's an intoxicating opportunity to get involved with helping and saving everyone in creation so that we don't have to care for ourselves, and blaming every single former friend, former partner, former whatever. It's everyone's fault that things have gone the way they have gone, as opposed to saying, wait a minute, how do I connect with people? What are my needs? in relationship. And even though I have very much been aware of what my needs are in relationship and what my body tells me, that doesn't mean that I have felt safe communicating that. This relationship helps me have a practice space that normalizes it is safe for me to say what I need. Because I think even like talking with my therapist, she'd say like, okay, so what do you need in this type of relationship? She wasn't talking about ours, she's talking about other relationships in my life. And to be able to, I know it, I'm clear on it, but if I say it, is the person going to react violently? That has been like the big thing historically for me, the big fear. Is the person going to react violently? Because when you say your needs and you grew up in an emotionally abusive household, when you say your needs and you grew up in a cult, oh baby, it's violence. When you tell people you have personal needs, but this is a cult, or but this is an abusive household emotionally, so the abusive person, they get to have needs. And everybody else's job is to keep them calm and keep the peace. The person who dares not keep the non-existent peace
Keeps it
is
quiet,
the
not peaceful.
target.
Mm-hmm.
So I think those of us who have grown up or been around folks who have, whether it's because of untreated mental health needs or it's because of something else, they have been super, super, super abusive to us when we have had needs and communicated it, or it's the neighborhoods or the trauma-based faiths or trauma-based cultural traditions that were stated as you need to sacrifice your needs. I think both are very unhealthy. I didn't learn sacrifice your needs or you're a bad person and internalize that I'm a bad person. I was just like, no, I'm not. But what I internalized was you're going to try to hurt me. So every time I tell you a need, I have to be willing to fight for my life. It's exhausting. It's exhausting to be terrified like that. It's exhausting to know that you're not going to back down no matter what. It's exhausting to think of connection as a potential for war. And so that's why when I feel like connection with people and I'm like, oh, this is going well, I also have to check in with myself and say, and you're safe here. You're safe here. And when you have had these experiences, my body is like, but are you? Because I would like to remind you, the year was 19 so and so. It's like, and so that's why I have to go off and be like, that was the year. I do recall that, I do recall. I'm going to journal. I'm going to talk to my therapist. I have skills. I call them terror skills. When I'm terrified, I have specific smells, things I listen to, things I do that help me get regulated enough to come back to my body, but my body isn't saying danger, 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 danger.
Yeah.
So, but it takes me time to do that. And so I think when you're in relationships with people who, because they don't do their own work, think that you going off to regulate yourself means that you don't care about them or the relationship, when in reality, you are so dysregulated, you have to go convince yourself that you're safe because you actually are.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes they don't necessarily understand that that space is me investing in my relationship with myself so I can show up and invest in this third relationship with myself. And I need you to be over there investing in your relationship with yourself because both of us have valid needs. And if we can do that in a two-person dynamic, especially a friendship, where there's not the societal expectation around, here are the rules of romance, here are the rules of family, here are the rules of, I don't know, this profession, but it's just person to person. When we can do that in a unit of two, then I think we can do it much bigger. And that has been my experience in this friendship. I can do it much bigger because of that. Sarah, please speak.
I just wanted to do a little time check. So I think I really want to hear Christina Michelle's response to that, but then think about moving towards an ending, and I'll just come in and put a little bow on it at the end if that sounds good with you.
I love it. Christina Michelle, do you know what we should end on? Because I don't know.
Well, I was just trying to think, what was my response for a second? You were just talking about, what were you talking about?
Child, I don't know.
Oh, I was thinking how much gratitude I have. One, also that you're willing to share this experience. I think it's not one that I haven't heard us talked about. And again, it just gives me so much more empathy and understanding on a really somatic level. And I also appreciate you talking about like your terror skills and thinking about when our body nervous system is dysregulated, we need things to help regulate our nervous system. So similar, like what are the smells, the pressures, the walk outside, whatever it may be. And just like how that has helped me so much moving through the world to just think about that, even though I know everyone's experience is not your experience, but you have to be reminded like that is a potential, that the terror. And I want to say something that you have done that has made it so that need for space, when I can take care of myself, I can say, and this is safe, is because you actually come back.
Every time.
Is a big thing. And every time it like helps me be able to trust it more. You come back, you will initiate what we're talking about. Because I think a lot of my experience has been people say, we'll talk about this later. And then it's me bringing it up again. And then I get to feel like I'm needy, I'm naggy. I'm the one always bringing up this hard conversation. But it's because, and then the other person feels, why you keep talking? It's like, well, because you're not. So I just really appreciate the ways you take responsibility for saying when you need space, giving me an idea of when you'll come back. And even just that, I think we know each other well enough to be able to say that, like, I'm going to come back, or it's cool. Take your space. I'll be here. You're safe. So those are some of the things I was thinking as you were talking. And then just a quick jump back to something you said about how the experience of like, if our friendship had kind of collapsed or whatever, blaming the other person, I was thinking how often for me, it works a little differently. It becomes all my fault, over responsibility of why this job didn't work out, why this relationship didn't work out, but how that also then goes into a shame spiral. That means I'm still avoiding these other feelings and things that need to be dealt with. And the way I think for a long time, shame was one of my default emotions that felt familiar. It felt awful, but I knew how to navigate it versus feeling maybe some anger because I have a right to be angry at someone else, maybe because they did do something that didn't feel good for me. And so I was just thinking about that, like, again, like the different ways that can look, but both end up with like avoiding self. And I think another thing that we've done that helps our relationship is to communicate these things to each other, to share, like be able to root for each other. Like when I say no to something, you're like, good job, Chris, even when I'm saying no to you, because you get it, right? And the ways we cheer for each other's work, again, not trying to do it for them. Again, like the intentionality we put in, and then the ability that was not just how it was, but the ways we've worked to be able to communicate with each other in the ways we've had, and the ways we earned each other's trust, and continue to, and our bodies get to see this can be safe. I just think it's one of the great honors of my lifetime, and I'm really thankful for it.
I agree fully, and I think that way of blaming others when a relationship does not work out for whatever reason, automatically saying it was the job, it was the neighbor, it was the ex, it was whatever. What it does is it confirms whatever fear the person already had. So for you, you were saying it pulls up that shame. It's my fault. For me, it pulls up that shame. People aren't safe. Connection's not safe. That's why you shouldn't have connected with them. Yeah. Because everyone's so dangerous. It's so unsafe to have intimacy. So that's why you should have stayed back here and not tried. And I think that when the ways that we love on each other, I don't feel like I'd be taking a whole bunch of space in this friendship. I feel like I leave you messages every daggone day of your life. It feels like, however, and they be long. Okay. However, Sarah,
I'm
don't
back
laugh
at you.
too
I do
hard,
the
Sarah.
same.
Sarah knows it well. And she doesn't even get like 90% of it. She gets like 10%. She'd be like, oh my God, Mishara. But I think that it's understanding that there's this responsibility. So just like it's a responsibility for you to do your work, it's a responsibility for me to do mine. And I understand that it is my job to say, when I get scared, before it happens, when I get scared, I need to go care for myself. When I get scared and need to go care for myself, I'm going to give a signal. The signal might be a word, the signal that we've already discussed in advance. The signal might be an action that we've already discussed in advance. Or it might just be, we don't have the type of relationship where we got to respond to each other right away anyway. It could be however long. And we don't take it as, I don't take it as this means
I got
this
better.
person is avoiding me. But whatever that signal is that I'm going to go care for myself, it doesn't become a debate, a discussion. I don't need to compromise on it. You don't need to compromise. We've already established that this relationship matters. So you're going to do things that take care of you. I'm going to do things that take care of me. And if I'm the person who needs the space, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to come back. And when I come back, I'm going to initiate the conversation of connection because it was me who stepped away from connection. I'm not going to put it on you to be vulnerable. But instead, I know that like vulnerability and boundaries are shared work. So you honored the boundaries I need. It's my turn to honor the connection that you need. And that means initiating. And that's just how you love someone according to what they need. And you don't sacrifice what you need. It's like this constant practice.
Yeah. I'm thinking as we're wrapping up, like that constant practice. And then if we had like a whole nother episode, I'd want to be like, what does it mean we keep saying like, do your work? What does that mean? What does that look like? I feel like that phrase gets thrown around a lot. We don't have time for that today, but I'm thinking of times where I could just see some people like, that's doing too much. If you got to do all that and tell someone like you have to do this and this and this, that
and
is
then
just
they
too
don't
much.
get to have a 15-year best friendship that is the best friendship ever. So they can just stay mad about it. Like
I'm also holding space that they may have different needs where it would be too
they
much.
might, but why are they in our business saying we're doing too much? Maybe go mind your business. Go mind it.
You're seeing right here how we navigate. But yeah, I think really I wouldn't say our relationship takes work. That's just not how I feel.
It feels very easy to me.
Yeah, it takes intention and has been such a joyful experience in the sense of not even necessarily like, oh, always happy, but like that deep, what is it? The world didn't give it to me, the world can't take it away kind of. Don't get me started for it. I mean, you can. We can cry.
Listen,
it is great.
I'm going to cry. If there's an opportunity to cry, I'm going to cry.
And when I think about like wrapping this up, I think what I would just encourage, or a question I might be is like, what do you want community to look like for you? Like really taking some time to think about that first, because like, is this kind of connection, vulnerability, something you want? Why or why not? I think is also a really great curiosity question I might throw out there. And again, like thinking like, and what can a world look like where we get to experience connection with self, connection with others in a way that doesn't mean betrayal of self, betrayal of others, in which our gifts can be appreciated and seen, and our struggles don't get pathologized, demonized, and there's just enough space for us all. And I am thankful for the ways our relationship has let me practice that and encourage myself to keep doing it in other ones and just kind of spreading out more and more and more and more. So thank you for being my friend.
Thank you for being my friend. Thank you for letting me love you. I think my final words would be, whether you tend to lean more codependent when you feel afraid, or you lean more counterdependent or avoidant, whether you lean more anxious or you lean more avoidant, consider letting yourself do your work, letting yourself have support with whatever that work is and those needs are, because they're valid and you have gifts and talents. You're worthy of your own work. You're worthy of your own best medicine. You're worthy of your own best care. And also, for the love of God, whether you lean anxious or avoidant, let somebody love you. Like, let someone love you. If you are an overgiver or if you are afraid of people, let somebody love you. So part of your work is like, what steps do I need to take so that I can normalize letting people love me, instead of so I can normalize doing the most to help everybody else? What would it take for me to confront my fear and my hesitation and my vulnerability and my whatever it is, to let someone love me and give me their best?
I feel
That's what we
so
got.
privileged.
Are you crying,
So-
Sarah?
I'm not, but I got chills 99% of the time. So that's saying something. But I really, this just feels like such an immense privilege to get to witness the intimacy of your friendship. And as you were talking, I mean, this is Christina Michelle, you said we didn't talk about what the work is, but you showed us what the work is. I don't think we can say what the work is, but we can witness it and we can feel it and we know it when we see it. And I mean, this just has inspired me to go down different rabbit holes of how we can do this podcast and maybe show more a little bit rather than just talk about what it is. And I'm hoping that listeners will take away from this. This is not fantasy. What you two have is what I've also cultivated in my relationships. And I have many people in my life that this is, I've never like really broken down exactly what it is. So I love that we got really clear on what it is that you do for one another. But this is possible, and I'm often smacked in the face when I hear the reality of so many people's lives, and this is not what they've cultivated for themselves. So I guess I just want listeners to know that we can level up. We can level up our connection if we commit to ourselves and we commit to somebody else, whether it be a friend or a lover or our family members or whatnot. And just thank you. Thank you for being here. I love you both. And this is just such a gift that you're sharing with the audience. So thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Sarah.
you, Sarah.
That means a
I
lot.
love that it shows that things are possible. And I think it sets a standard. If you can
Yes.
do it with one person in community, then
Yes.
you can do it with more than one.
That's right.
And you can receive it. It can be a giving and receiving relationship. Come on, mutual aid. That's not just the phrase
Yes.
mutual aid, but is actually a one-way
Yes.
charitable relationship, which does not reflect communal care, because that would be actual vulnerability. Hey.
That's right. That's right. Well, thank you, my friends. Can't wait till the next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks to our guest for an amazing episode. To find out more about our guests, you can visit www.headheartbiztherapy.com/podcast. You can find me at Head Heart Biz Therapy on both Facebook and Instagram. Thanks to the Jules Creative Marketing team for video editing, to Liam O'Donnell for our album art, and to Ben Mueller for our theme music. And I'm your host, Sarah Buino. Until next time, bye-bye.